They mocked him for being late, kicked his bag, and spat on his name, but they did not know the boy in dusty slippers held a truth that would shame an entire kingdom. Watch closely, because by the time the royal guards arrive, it's already too late. Subscribe now. African folktales like this don't come twice. In the bustling city of Ajiran, where royalty was worshipped and power wore fine robes, a young boy named Tajudeen pedaled through the streets on a rusty bicycle. His shirt clung to his back with sweat, and the package in his hands shook with every bump on the road. No one knew where he came from. No one cared. He was just the delivery boy. At the city's grand hotel, rich girls were arriving. Mercedes-Benz cars lined the entrance. Sleek gowns floated through the lobby. And right at that moment, Tajudeen rolled up, dusty and unnoticed. But when he stepped down, something shifted. The manager frowned. You don't belong here," he said, blocking Tajudeen with his chest. "I was sent to deliver this parcel to room 704. Tajudeen replied softly. "Do you know who lives in that room?" The manager snapped. "That's a foreign dignitary. Move before I call security." The receptionist laughed. Other guests whispered, "Look at his shoes. He stinks of the road. Trash boy." Tajudeen said nothing. He looked up at the chandelier, blinking twice. He was remembering something his mother once told him. "Let them mock your dust. Kings are often born in silence." And so, the prince, unknown to all, waited. Tajudeen stood silently as the crowd mocked him. His fingers gripped the parcel tightly. Inside was a small box, plain, wrapped in brown paper. But what it carried could change everything. The security guard approaches with loud boots. "You have been warned," the manager barked. "Throw this boy out." But just then, a calm voice spoke from the back. "Let him in." Heads turned. It was Madame Ronke, the assistant of the foreign dignitary. She had been watching from a corner. "Room 704 requested that exact package this morning," she said, flipping her tablets. "Name?" "Tajudeen," he replied. She nodded. "He is on the list." The manager's face turned sour. "Escort him up," Madame Ronke ordered. As the elevator's door closed behind him, Tajudeen looked at the shining mirror. Inside, he whispered, "Almost there." The elevator dinged. Floor 7. He stepped out and walked to the suite. At the very end of the hall, it was silent. He knocked 3 times. A tall foreign man with gray hair opened the door. Ambassador Leffrey, a French dignitary sent for a secret business meeting with the royal palace. "Ah, right on time," the ambassador said, taking the box. "You are..." Tajudeen smiled. "Just the delivery boy." "Strange," the man said, scanning Tajudeen's face. "You look familiar." Tajudeen simply bowed his head. "You will soon know." He turned and walked away, leaving the ambassador confused. Downstairs, the hotel lobby buzzed. The manager bragged loudly about how he taught that rude boy a lesson. But 10 minutes later, 3 black SUVs scratched to a halt outside. Men in royal uniforms jumped out. The royal crest of Ajiron glinted on their chests. "Where is the prince?" they shouted. The entire hotel froze. The moment the royal guards stormed into the hotel, the air changed. Guests paused mid-sip. Phones were raised. Even the arrogant manager began to sweat. "We are here on the orders of His Majesty," one of the guards announced, holding up a golden scroll stamped with the royal seal. "The crown prince is among you, disguised, unannounced. Do not panic." Whispers rippled through the lobby. "A prince? Here. Could it be the foreign man upstairs? Maybe the CEO from Italy." The manager, trying to regain control, puffed his chest. "I assure you, sirs, there is no prince here. Just common people." That's when the lead guard turned sharply. "Really? Then explain why the royal tracker pin stopped moving inside your hotel 14 minutes ago." He held up a small screen showing a blinking red dot exactly at the location of room 704. Everyone gasped. "But that's the delivery boy," whispers the receptionist, eyes wide. The manager's lip twisted. Tajudeen had just exited the elevator, calm as ever. The crowd parted as the guard's eyes locked onto him. He didn't flinch. He didn't speak. He simply nodded once and raised 2 fingers. The lead guard instantly dropped to one knee. "Your Highness." The entire hotel fell silent. The same manager who kicked him out now stood shaking like dry leaves. "Why didn't you say anything?" the ambassador asked, stepping out of the elevator behind Tajudeen. Tajudeen turned slowly. "My crown doesn't need to be loud. The true test is how you test the one you think has nothing." He walked past the manager, past the staff, past the whispering crowd, and paused at the door. "Lesson 1, he said, looking back, never mock the dust on a man's feet. It may be from a long royal journey." Outside the hotel, camera flashes exploded like fireworks. News reporters had arrived. The royal escort lined up beside Tajudeen's bike like it was a Lamborghini. Inside, the staff stared. Frozen, the manager dropped to his knees. "Please, Your Highness, forgive me. I don't know." Tajudeen looked down at him. "You knew enough to judge me by my shoes." He turned to the guards. "Escort him outside." As the manager was dragged away, the hotel girls looked at each other in shame. Whisper turned to silence. Madam Ronke, who had once defended Tajudeen, bowed her head with pride. "I always knew something was different about you," she said. Tajudeen smiled softly. "And you will be rewarded for it." Suddenly, his phone buzzed. One look at the screen made his expression shift. Calling Baba, the king. He stepped aside and answered, "Yes, Baba, I have been found." The king's voice came through, firm and warm. "My son, I watched it all. Every moment. The way they treated you, it broke my heart. I wanted to see how our people behave when they think no crown is watching." Tajudeen replied, "And now you know." The king said, "Return home. It's time we start cleaning this kingdom from the inside. As the line disconnected, Tajudeen knew this moment was bigger than revenge. It was about rebuilding character in a nation where kindness had been forgotten. He looked at the receptionist, the bellboy, the security guards, all of whom once laughed at him. "You laughed when I looked poor," he said calmly. "But wealth is not the test. Character is." He turned to leave, but before he stepped outside, he pointed at the hotel's entrance. "Seal it." One of the guards placed a royal lock on the doors. The hotel was shut down by order of the prince. The royal SUV cruised the streets of Ajiran. Inside, Tajudeen sat in silence, but his mind, it was loud, filled with echoes of shame, judgment, and his mother's voice. Never forget who you are, but more importantly, never forget why you were hidden. When they arrived at the palace gates, they opened wide with thunderous horns. Guards saluted, maidens bowed, but Tajudeen barely looked. He walked straight to the Queen Mother's chamber. There, resting on a cave stool, was a box. It hadn't been touched in 10 years. He opened it slowly. Inside, an old wrapper his mother used to wear, a baby photo of him in her arms, and one faded letter, "Addresses to my son, the hidden crown." He unfolded the letter. "Tajudeen, if you are reading this, then the time has come. The day you discover who you truly are. Remember, I begged your father to raise you like a commoner. I needed you to learn pain, to walk with dust on your feet, to feel rejection and taste hunger. Because a crown placed on the head of a boy who's never suffered will one day become a tyrant. But you were made for the people. You are not just my son. You are the hope of this kingdom. And when the world mocks your journey, smile. That dust on your feet is royal. Love always, Mama." Tears rolled down Tajudeen's cheek. He pressed the letter to his chest and whispered, "I understand now, Mama. Thank you." Just then, the palace bell rang. A crowd had gathered outside. Word had spread across the land. The hidden prince had returned. Tajudeen rose, wiped his tears, and tied his mother's wrapper around his arm. He was ready to lead. The palace square overflowed with people, from farmers to traders, elders to children. They all came to witness what they once doubted. The boy they mocked was the prince they now bowed to. A golden stage had been prepared, but Tajudeen refused it. Instead, he stepped forward barefoot, dressed in a simple white tunic, with his mother's wrapper tied around his arm. No royal cloak, no golden staff, only truth. The chief announcer stepped forward. "His Royal Highness, Crown Prince." Tajudeen raised his hand. "No titles today, just your brother, your son, your fellow citizen." Silence swept the air. Then he spoke. "A few days ago, I was kicked out of a hotel not for stealing, not for wrongdoing, but for looking poor. I saw with my own eyes what judgment looks like. I was called trash, but I say to you today, dust is not shameful. I was crowned by that dust because it taught me what gold cannot. It taught me to see the ignored, to hear the silenced, and honor the broken. He paused, his voice now deeper. From today onward, we will change Ajiro. No child will be mocked for their slippers. No girl will be dismissed for her accents. No boy will be judged for carrying a basket. And no human shall be ranked above another by robes or riches. We will rebuild, not with pride, but with purpose. The crowd erupted, tears flowed, the elders nodded, the youth cheered. Mothers held their children tighter, and deep within the palace walls, the king, watching from behind his curtain, wiped his eyes. "My son," he whispered, "you are not just my heir, you are Ajiron's rebirth." As the cheers of the people echoed through Ajiron, not everyone celebrated. In a quiet chamber of the palace, a man sat in darkness, Prince Jelani, Tajudeen's cousin, son of the king's late brother, the one who thought he would inherit the throne. He clenched his fist, watching the speech on a small screen. "That throne was mine," he hissed. "I trained with the generals. I studied the laws, and they give it to a street boy?" His advisor, a sly man with narrow eyes, leaned forward. "Bloodline can be rewritten," he whispered. "All we need is a little scandal." Jelani's eyes narrowed. "Speak." Meanwhile, back in the palace courtyard, Tajudeen was ushered into the royal chambers for a press meeting. News outlets swarmed in, begging for interviews. But then, a reporter stepped forward and shouted, "Your Highness, is it true you once stole from a vendor as a street boy?" Gasps filled the air. Tajudeen froze. What?" he said, stunned. The reporter pulled out a photo, a blurry image of a young boy running through a market holding a loaf of bread. "He looked like you, doesn't he?" the reporter asked, smirking. "Sources say this boy was caught by guards but escaped justice. Is this who you really are?" The crowd murmured. Doubts began to creep. Tajudeen's jaw tightened. He looked at the image again, and something clicked. "That photo," he said, pointing, "was taken the same week my mother was dying. I ran because I had no money to feed her. I stole one loaf of bread, not for myself, but for her." The crowd fell silent, and he added, "If that makes me feel unworthy, then, perhaps, you all forgot what hunger feels like." But in the shadows, Jelani smiled. "Let's see how long your truth can hold, cousin." The next day, Ajira was buzzing. Half the kingdom was angry, half stood with Tajudeen, but all were watching. Tajudeen stood before the council of elders, accused not of a crime, but of being too common to wear the crown. Jelani stood opposite him, dressed in royal reg, smiling. "I have never stolen," Jelani said, bowing. "Never begged, never slept on the streets. I was born to lead." The elders nodded. Some guests even clapped. Tajudeen said nothing. He simply reached into his robe and pulled out his mother's letter. "I was born a prince," he said softly, "but my mother made me live like the people to understand them, and I will not be ashamed of that." He walked toward Jelani and held out the royal staff. "If the crown must sit on the head of the cleanest robe, take it." Gapes filled the air, but he added, "Lead not with fear or pride, cousin. Lead with the scars you don't have, if you can." He dropped the scarf at Delani's feet. The entire hall was stunned. Jelani reached for the staff, his hands shaking, but before he could lift it, the king rose from his throne. "No," the king said. Silence. The boy who fed his dying mother with stolen bread understands sacrifice. The one who walked barefoot through shame understands justice. That is the man I trust." He turned to Tajudeen. "And if you will not wear the crown on your head, then wear it in your hearts." Tajudeen looked up. The people stood, one by one, even the guards. 1,000 voices cried, "Long live the people's prince!" And so, Tajudeen became the only prince in Ajiron's history who ruled without sitting on the throne. Never judge a man by his struggle. Sometimes, the dust on his feet is the proof of his destiny. Like, comment your thoughts, and share this video to someone who needs to remember greatness can wear rags. Don't forget to subscribe for more unforgettable African folktales. Thank you so much for watching. See you all in the next one. Bye.